start the work session here at 6:05.
Yike.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're starting the work session at 6:05. We will start with legal advisor. You have nothing on the agenda, but do we have anything you wanted to discuss?
Throughout the meeting, he will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Couple of things on some other people's topics.
Okay. Mike.
Okay. Give you an update on the CRA. I sent you an outline. Now that I'm getting into the operational side of this, there are going to be some decisions that need to be made. I'm not asking it to be made tonight. I just want to make you aware that I'm hoping at the next meeting I will have something more formal to present to you. One of the things I want you to know, it's important to understand that there are going to be two separate applications and two separate approval processes. One for residential applications and a separate one for commercial applications. They're just, the statute calls for separate applications, separate decisions, and there's a little bit separate criteria. For example, the school boards do not have to participate in the residential CRAs that are granted. If it's a commercial development and the exemption is what it's called. It's not called an abatement, it's called a tax exemption. If it's more than 50%, the school board has to sign off on it. Although we do have to notify them on every commercial application. But they only have a chance to negotiate with us if it's over a 50%. But it's just something to know, that there's a significant difference in the statute between residential applications and commercial.
So the school boards do not have a part in which one?
The residential.
Oh, in the residential.
Residential, yeah. Commercial, they do.
But they can't stop it. They just have part in the discussion.
Oh, they have to approve it.
If it's over 50%.
If it's over 50%. If the
50,
tax exemption is
So-
over
so
50%.
So
Right.
50%, commercial. Is
It
that
is
commercial
important.
and industrial?
Pardon me?
Commercial and industrial, the
Yes.
same? Okay.
Yeah. The only one they're not involved in is the residential.
Is it above 50% or 50% and greater? Just a little
I
detail.
can't tell you. I don't know.
Okay.
So is it, I mean, what you're asking, Chuck, is it 49.9 and then 50 and up, or is it anything above 50% even, right, is what we need to find out?
Whatever,
find out.
Yeah, whatever the heck it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Not that it matters, just curious.
Well, it does if we set policy
It
on,
does.
you know,
I mean, if you want to do 50, do you have to get their permission, or
No,
can you
or
get
you just
by?
do
exactly.
45.
Or we do
Okay.
49% as the max, right?
Okay,
I will get that information.
okay.
Unfortunately, it's important to know that we do not grant these CRA tax exemptions. The county commissioners do. By statute, townships cannot apply and form a CRA. This is actually a county CRA because the statute requires that the county apply on our behalf. So we did fill out the application. Harley and I did all the legwork, the housing inspections, all that stuff, and then submitted it to the commissioner so they could apply to the state of Ohio. Well, the statute clearly says that they have to approve the tax exemptions we want to grant, not us. I just want you to understand that. There'll be a routine process for it, and I don't know what that is yet. I'm not there, but where we'll submit it to them here. And I would bet you, unless it's a Lubrizol industrial thing, they're going to rubber stamp most of them.
Right.
But like, I think, let's say, we should come up with some sort of standards on
Yeah.
what we're looking
There
at.
will.
So that,
Yep.
okay.
When it comes to commercial ones, we will have to form a committee that is responsible for reviewing the commercial applications and saying whether it complies or not with our requirements. I don't think the statute says who has to be on the committee, but it does require that one is appointed. There's also the Tax Incentive Review Committee at the other end, once a year has to meet and review all of the CRAs that were granted and see that the people who were granted CRAs are meeting the conditions of it. If you got a CRA tax exemption, you put on a new roof, are you putting the new roof on?
Right.
Yeah. And then there will be a notification process to the county auditor so he can start dropping their taxes. There's really a lot of work to do on this, but I gave you the outline. That's what I could get done by this meeting to at least see, the operational side is probably just as challenging as the application side was, but we'll get there. Next is the app update. Unfortunately, this is really late information, so I don't know what we can do tonight, but the app, today, Chris told me that the app is approved, or is ready to be released. I had to correspond with him and got an answer while I was talking to you here that about, where do we get the address to tell people to download the app? I've searched for it on Google Play and I can't find it.
I found it on the App Store.
Well, I'm not finding it, so
Okay.
that means the average resident's not always going to
I
find
don't
it.
have a Google. You?
Oh, you shouldn't use.
I'm
you
Android.
should- You shouldn't use
he
Android
is
devices. That's your problem.
Well, I got an Apple iPad for Christmas and I don't like it. So there's,
You don't know how to turn your phone on silent, Mike. So
so the reason that's an issue,
That was a not so subtle reminder.
it showed up first, number one on his.
Make sure you search. Make sure you type in township.
Yeah.
yeah, there's something there for Painesville, but it's not the township.
Okay.
Oh, I
The-
found it and I have the link for you.
Well, the important thing is if I couldn't find it easily on an Android, we have to make it easy for residents to be able to access it and download it.
wait, hold
And if I'm searching, then there must be something.
Can you find it, Chuck?
I'm gonna look.
I mean, this is real.
This
real
would be the
test.
test?
This is the test.
Here, I'll look this one. I looked under Painesville Township last time.
Yeah, I have an Android. I searched Painesville Township and it popped up.
Okay.
Yeah, it came right up. Did you spell it out township or did you go TWP? I wonder if that matters.
I always spell a township. I never used abbreviation.
Okay. Actually, they both came up. So maybe they've done something since you tried it because
Now, I did get an email about a half hour ago from him, but I haven't had a chance to read
maybe he
it.
did something because it came right up. It was the
Something.
top listed one.
So-
Okay.
He went, but
That's not it.
So,
That's what shows up, but that's not it.
No, mine was our logo and it said Painesville Township next to it. Who do you have? Do you have an Android? Huh. That weird? Okay, I don't know. That's weird.
I'm sure there's a solution, I just don't have it tonight. But essentially, we're ready to go. But we have to understand, people have to sign up for it for them to
You got an Android?
get any of the benefits
Did it
from
work for
us.
you,
So
too?
if we send out a push notification tomorrow, nobody'd get it.
It's that side of the room.
right. I mean, and we paid for it with COVID funds, so the app is
Yeah.
paid for with COVID funds. So I mean, but if we don't release this soon, everybody's gonna
I
be
think-
vaccinated. And this is gonna be done.
Yeah.
Here's the
So-
thing, though. I know you say you can't find it, but let's not hold it up because of that. Only because he went to the store and just typed Painesville Township was the first thing that popped up. So I don't think we should withhold it for that reason because he has a Google Play phone too.
Peppy can't find it.
Well, let me see. Mike, bring me your phone.
Carly found it. Chuck found it. Maybe it's a mic thing.
It could be. The reason Harley's streaming our meetings now.
Just go right to the search area and type in Painesville.
He did it first thing up on phone. He typed
Painesville Township.
Did you spell it right?
You put Painesville download. He put, oh.
That comes up when you put
Okay,
in.
he typed Painesville Township, hits enter, and boom, it's the first thing that shows up.
I did that 3 times today and didn't
Just
get
try it right now. See
Yeah,
if
I
it
should
works.
try it
Maybe
right
they
now.
did something
He didn't.
different.
He didn't hit enter. He didn't hit enter.
Hit enter, I was just looking at the drop downs,
That's why.
so maybe if you hit enter, it comes up.
Well, there it is.
All right.
There you go. They've
So-
done
I did
something.
the
It's
exact same
fixed.
thing. I didn't-
And God bless it, I was just looking at the drop downs.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. You got to hit Painesville Township, hit enter. I'll make sure and put that in the.
Hit enter.
And so Chris has updated the video, right?
Did you guys? Can we put the video up here real quick? Who's controlling the screen?
I am,
Do you have the email with the video?
I do not have.
Here, I'll send it to you right now. Hang on.
But
Did he send a new one?
Yep, he sent it at 5:21.
Oh.
He just sent it.
Okay.
I think he sent it to Mike. Hang on a second here. How the hell do I get it?
Yeah, I got that, but I hadn't read it yet.
Here, I'll send it to you. Forward to.
Yeah.
I'm sending it to all you guys here.
Yeah.
Harley, Josh. It's a Google Drive file with all the stuff in it. And I think it was just because we were on this is the email chain from the original discussion. So, I think that's why, all right, so all you guys should have it now. Harley, you should have it. There's a Google file, Drive file. If you open that up, you'll see there's a video.
And
This
then
is the
you'll,
Township General.
you'll have to share your screen, I guess, as well.
Yeah, click on that. And then the video. And then share your screen up there so we can all see it.
Maybe here.
Trust me, they say Painesville Township pretty clearly about 10 times.
Did you get the app and download it for me, or did you screw me and I have to go try to find it?
You got, we're gonna make you hunt for it now.
Yeah.
So where do we find this thing at?
In your email.
In your email, I sent it
Oh.
to you.
They save it in Google Drive.
It is in a Google Drive, but not all state, or not, Township's Google Drive. There you go. Click on that.
There's the video.
And then click on this right here.
There is sound, I think, isn't there?
Is there supposed to be sound?
Yeah.
Do we know where the remote is for the TV?
She's got
Oh.
it muted.
Oh, it's because it's not coming out on the TV.
Here, start it over. There we go. Do we have the TV?
Yeah, unfortunately, it won't come out of the TV because it's on this laptop, the sound won't.
All right.
Painesville Township is excited to announce the release of our smartphone app. The app is designed to keep residents and families within Painesville Township, Ohio safe by providing the latest updates and information from Painesville Township. Powered by the publicinformationapp.com, the app greets users with a streamlined main menu to allow for seamless navigation of the app's many features. Some of those features include a calendar of events, a list of COVID-19 resources, and the ability to report a concern. The app also provides users with alerts and updates on emergencies or events that may impact their area. Search Painesville Township, Ohio in the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store to download this free app.
And hit enter.
So it's basic enough, and then if you go through that file, there's just some pictures that you can post up with it too. Go through those pictures real quick, Harley, while you're sharing your screen in the file.
Ooh-wee.
Not that.
Oh,
Oh, for goodness sakes.
no, go back.
Print-
Go to
press
print.
release digital.
Yeah, press release, there you go.
This one.
So what are you do? Gonna post this on the Facebook page?
Yeah, I'll
or-
post the video, and I'll I'll post the press release, and I'll post the video, and then we'll put that in the newsletter when it goes out.
Well, and we can do an email
Do
blast.
the email blast with the marketing, plug the video in there. If you don't know how do you know how to embed a video within the email?
Nope.
Okay, I can show you how to do that, so that constant contact, we can embed the video right in the email, so people can just press play right from the email.
Well, it's nice, it seems to be given, or do we have to embed this link ourselves?
It's a Word document, so maybe while you're in Google Drive, it's not, if you're in Sheets, it's not working, but if you open it up in we'll look at it, and then I'll make sure that we put, because you have to hyperlink it anyways when you put it inside of a constant contact email. You have to insert that hyperlink on the Word anyways.
Okay.
So we'll have to do that from that platform.
All right, and you wanna look at the digital and social media?
Yeah, just go ahead and do that.
When you put this on Facebook, can you send us a text letting us know that?
Yeah,
you
I'll
did the
tag
post?
everybody. Well, you must have turned yours off, because I can't tag you in anything, but I can tag him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You must have turned off the ability to have people tag your page, because I can tag Chuck, but I can't tag you anymore.
Why not?
So I don't know if you turned that off.
Do you know how to turn it on?
You're just not tech savvy enough.
I don't know if you go in settings.
This
Can I make it help,
61-year-old guy is, though.
We'll look at it after, but I think make sure it's not shut off, but we'll check it after the meeting.
Okay.
This one, John gets tagged with my picture on it.
So there's all these things. What I'll do is I'm gonna set up, you can set up, scheduled posts. So I'm gonna post announcing the app with the video instructions, and then I'll do a scheduled post once a day for the next week. Something will come up with a different one of these things on the, Facebook to promote it.
It's very cool.
No, we just put them on our desk.
All right. Yeah, I'll take a look at that afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't think I changed anything, but.
It really is a neat app. I think I like it.
Business Suite.
Do you do it in that, or do you do it in regular Facebook?
It's,
I think they go to regular Facebook too.
well, is this in Business Suite?
It's in the business suite, yeah.
It is, because it's asking me to switch. Switch to Business Suite. Did you update the app?
Was that like 2 weeks ago or a week ago?
Like 3 months ago? 4 months ago?
Thought I did. This is it, take everything, that was the issue, if it wanted to push everything into my personal and.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. All right, well, let's move on, sorry.
All right,
Wanted
Next
to
item.
discuss if we want to reopen the meeting room to the public. I'd like to point out, this has turned into a giant pain in the neck here at Township Hall. Everything you're looking at all has to be blocked away in the closet when we have groups in. The microphones and the laptop over there, and, you know, it's just become kind of a big job.
well, is it,
Renting it out to other people, or other people use it, same.
No, well, we don't rent it. We allow nonprofit groups to use it, which they appreciate, especially the HOAs. Maybe it won't be as bad now. We had too many groups in the 4-H coming here when they were building their building over there. Well, they can meet over there now, so
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
the volume will decrease if we reopen.
you say it's been an issue with all this stuff, have we done it since we?
We have been letting one group in for 2 months. The Christian Motorcycle Group was meeting here regularly, and they were knocking on our door regularly, are we open yet? And I think in February, I told them they could come in, so they've been here February, March, and they were here Monday night. So I have a little practice, yeah.
Well, I think now that it's been, we kind of have to, I think, at this point, now that we've made it aware.
They're the only group we've let in. I did have an HOA call me today, and I told them, yeah, probably Lake Erie Shore.
Oh, really?
Bob Garino. Yeah,
So it's just, you're saying.
somebody,
putting the
no, not
microphones-
Lake Erie Shores,
Microphones
somebody else
and
over there that he
laptops.
represents.
Okay.
I don't know, are we then having the building cleaned because we have groups come in?
We have fogged, yes.
Okay, so here's my thought. I mean, if we're gonna do it, we can open it to them, but if we have an extra cost
Yeah.
because of that,
Yep, pass it on.
We're charging the $15 that Chuck Seacrest charges us to come in. He just fogs this room if it's just after
Okay.
one group uses it.
What about the bathrooms? They're going in there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, he does those too. He only charges us $15 if he comes in after a group.
Okay.
So, and we've been collecting that when they pay it.
again,
We can do it, I just want to know if it's an official, we
I
can
think we should.
do it.
I mean, I know there's a little bit of hassle with this stuff, but I think if they're paying to clean it, which is the big thing, we don't want to incur any extra costs. But if they're paying to clean it,
Well, they're paying for the fogging. I have to come in and wipe these tables down because they leave crumbs and crap, and I won't have you guys sit where somebody else was. So I come in and I disinfect the tabletops afterwards and everything. Which is, yeah, I can do, but it's just, that this isn't the right time to talk about that, so we can move on. I just want you to know that that's
Well, let's-
involved in the process.
we'll just talk about, we'll make a decision next meeting, I guess, think about it.
I mean, do we
Over the
include a
next 2
$20
weeks.
cleaning fee and have somebody come in and clean the room after? So $35 includes the fogging and the cleaning of the room? I don't see that being too crazy with what's going on.
That's up to you.
Or see if the fogger doodles.
And I'll have to find somebody that will come in periodically, because nobody meets regularly, or most of them meet once a month on different nights.
When he comes into fog, will he disinfect the tables and surfaces and on top of that, wipe them down and for an extra $15 and call it even 30 or something like
You
that?
can ask them, sure.
Then that makes sense. Do it that way, takes the burden off of you.
Right.
If somebody wants to do it, $30 isn't that big of a deal once a month, and do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna talk to the guy that does the fogging, and then
Yeah.
we can talk about it next meeting and make a decision
Sure.
what we wanna do.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
I know my nephew had something that was 15.
There you go.
Okay, the flood cameras at the service garage that we talked with the sheriff's department about a couple weeks ago, if you saw the email, it's a little bit more than he told us. That, I don't think it matters, but it's more than what we discussed, so I wanted you to be aware
So
before we
Only
tell him to
500
go.
bucks. Only five. I think he told us 2, and it's 25, right?
Yeah,
$2,500 a year.
and it's a 2-year
Well-
agreement, not a, he said he thinks he can get it for 1 year, but the company initially asked for 2 year.
So, and there was plus like an install fee, right? You get- There's $2,500 a year plus
Oh, yeah, the setup,
something
the
for
installation. Yeah.
install. I mean, I think we push it as, look, we just want it for a year, see how it works. I mean,
He said he would, Bob told me he would try to get it for a year.
Okay.
But that he wanted me to know they typically
I think with
require
what we
2.
have going on over there, we need to get it done.
yeah.
That's my
I
opinion.
agree. And I wonder where that car was headed last night. or-
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
But yeah, so tell them, yeah, move forward with it,
Yeah.
try to get it for the year. And then, you know, he can tell the company, look, hey, if it's as great as you say it is, you know, maybe,
It's probably gonna be a 2-year thing anyhow, so just go with it.
I mean, at this point, like,
It's,
who knows how soon we'll be rid of the issue anyway, so
Right.
like, this might drag out for, you know,
it's good to have.
yeah.
It's good to have.
Okay, next, the first meeting in May is typically held at Fire Station 3. The challenge we have is we can't live stream that meeting. We just don't have the setup over there to live stream. We aren't required by law to live stream it, it's open to the public. My concern is if we take one meeting off and don't live stream that one, it's going to cause confusion in the public, so when of these live stream, or not. So I wanted to know, do you still want to hold this year's meeting at the fire station, or hold it here and
I say this year we put it off.
I agree.
I agree.
don't think we had anybody that I'm aware of that came because it was there. that
We had people come.
show up at
We had a couple
business.
people,
I
but,
think it was one.
yeah, there was one,
There
she
was
said it
one.
was in my neighborhood, so I
Yeah.
decided to come.
So, yeah, so
We had
let's,
one.
One.
so both of them, this one and then
We
one
had
in the
zero, we
fall.
had these, so,
The one in the fall as well, we'll just plan to hold here.
I would just leave them all here for now.
yeah, now that they're broadcast, it's different, I think anyways.
Yeah, okay, the last item I have is,
From the Painted Township broadcast studio in Old
Michael?
uh,
The other Michael.
the bridge over the Barton Ditch. We spent a lot of time on this, with Jason researching the heck out of it, and all of us running around trying to figure it out, so who's up? On the Melrose, I suppose the easement is one issue, the issue? Well, that bridge is the issue.
Yeah, and then I think the only real issue in my mind is, so I'm confident that we could remove the bridge. It's inconsistent. Well, I guess let me back up. It's the Lake County Commissioner's easement. So I think no matter what happens, it should be in conjunction with what they're comfortable with as well. Because if something litigation-wise were to happen, they're going to be a party to it as well.
And it'd go through the stormwater department anyway, so I think they would probably be tied in, but yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, so
Engineers and someone.
so I was asked essentially 3 questions. Can we remove the bridge? And that one is a confident yes. It's inconsistent with the easement rights. The easement allows the county to reconstruct or to construct, repair, replace, relay, maintain, operate, inspect. So because it's inconsistent with our easement rights, we can remove it. The second question I was asked is, can they replace the bridge? And that would essentially really be Lake County's call because it's their easement. But in my mind, as long as the bridge doesn't interfere with the easement rights, I don't see any reason why you couldn't put it back up.
Is there an easement right now?
Yeah.
Did they get permission for this bridge?
Well, the bridge
Supersede?
was there before the
Okay.
easement. And the easement language itself doesn't mention anything about the bridge. So one of the things I was curious about was was the bridge even discussed when they were negotiating the easement? You know, I don't know what the county paid for the easement. They paid something.
$10.
Well,
It was $10.
you're positive?
Yeah, I've got a copy of the easement.
Okay. Well, a lot of times too, on the actual language may not reflect, a lot of times 10 is just like a token amount people put on there, but but regardless. So the real question is, who has to foot the bill to replace it? So in researching this, the vast majority of the case law deals with utility companies and trees.
Utility companies and what?
Trees.
Okay.
Whether it's pipeline or poles. Utility companies routinely come in and either trim trees or remove them because it interferes with their easement for their pipes or whatever they got going on. Oftentimes, those easements don't say anything about compensation. Sometimes it'll say something about compensation. If it's silent on compensation, the utility company does not owe the property owner any kind of money for, the loss in property value for removing those trees. So here, obviously, those trees, I'm assuming, predate the easements in all those cases. So that's kind of what I'm using to make this judgment call on. Our easement here is silent on the bridge. It's silent on any kind of compensation. That bridge is inconsistent with the easement rights that the county has. I guess to give an example, if the bridge did not predate the easement, county had the easement first, property owner puts a bridge up, no question, they do not owe the property owner any kind of money, don't have to pay them to replace the bridge, nothing. The only thing that gives me a little pause is because that bridge was there first. Now, presumably, I guess the way I look at it is that's partly why you're being compensated, because,
$10.
well,
Yeah, so, I mean,
not everybody's the best negotiator, I
Sure,
guess.
too, I guess, right?
Part of the contract is you have to have some consideration.
But so, I mean, based on the case law, and like I said, most of it is not 100% similar to the situation we have here. It involves trees. I would say most likely that we wouldn't have to foot the bill to replace the bridge. However, I don't think it's a bad idea certainly a discussion should be had with the property owner. Hey, this is what we intend on doing.
Maybe they don't even want the bridge.
Try to,
wants it.
it's
He
a
wants
real nice bridge, so
He wants the
I'm
bridge.
guessing he really wants it.
You're not gonna bitch about it.
but
No,
this
you're
property
missing it.
owner
We're
is the
gonna
one,
take down the bridge,
they're gonna widen the channel, and the bridge won't be long enough
and they
anymore.
built this beautiful bridge. It's almost like a deck
Yeah,
over
it
the
really is
over
nice.
the water.
But
It's very nice.
But the property owner
Very
that has the
nice.
bridge is the one that's asking for something to be done to the channel.
Right.
Let Billy talk.
So the consultant that came up with the original plan, Stormwater reached out to him, and he is a bridge engineer. So his, I know how engineers are. But his claim is that based on the preliminary cross-sections, the span would go from 18 feet to 25 feet. If we design the span for residential deck loads, it should be possible. So as a consultant, I think he says he can design this possibly to work with the channel. It
He
would
also
have to
said
be,
something about foundations or footers and stuff too, didn't he?
with added structural supports and foundations for the longer spans, yeah. So it's not gonna be a matter of just lifting this one off and putting it back on.
Well, no, it's 7 feet longer too, so it needs.
And when we were out there to look at it, I wonder if you're gonna be able to take it off without damaging it. No matter what kind of equipment you have out there, it's,
What kind of equipment can you get back?
That's another problem,
Right.
because to get to it, you gotta go through the other property to come across, because you can't go between the houses. It's just not physically doable.
So to get a piece of equipment back there, even to do the channel work, could be tough. You could probably do that with a small, little mini excavator, but you would need something probably
Big.
big
Yes.
to lift this thing.
Yes.
And there's big trees back there and other stuff. So they're gonna have their hands full with this, but
And it's not possible to work around it. To solve the issue, the channel has to be widened. And we can't widen it up to the bridge and then let it be narrow again and then widen it on the other side.
the path of least resistance. You're gonna have some issues with this one if you try to force this bridge out and put it all on the homeowner. The homeowner's gonna, I just think sometimes the path of least resistance, to avoid litigation, to avoid that sort of stuff, you just. Well, I'm not saying build them a new bridge. If you can do what this guy here is saying, if you can extend this thing and they can do it, and they say they can do it, and they can still, stormwater was all about keeping that bridge in there. I mean, am I wrong?
If it could have been worked around, but
I didn't see any resistance from stormwater with this thing.
No.
But the engineer said it can't be, you can't just leave it where it's at and do the work around it. That wouldn't
No.
solve the problem. So is the next step, does stormwater pay to have the engineer look at it, come up with a solution, and come up with, okay, well, here's the design solution, here's the cost for it. What do you want to do at this point?
And then we need to remember that he gave his ballpark estimate for what this project would cost. It hasn't been put out to bid yet, so we don't know the exact cost.
Did he give a ballpark with the bridge and without the bridge?
No,
He
just,
hasn't got that far.
no, it was just, his estimate was what was needed to solve the water problem.
Okay,
85,000? Seems like that was,
that number sounds about right.
So-
Because it was 110 up on Paradise.
So we would
Yeah.
need stormwater to ask the engineer to do more work, see what the solution is for the bridge, and I think also in that is,
well, we need to find out if the commissioners are going to allow a bridge to be in their easement.
okay, so that's
Well,
the
there is
storm-
now.
But it's a different thing when you take something out.
Yeah, once you take it out,
They allow
can it
something
go
to
back?
Like, so that's probably a Tim question.
It is.
But yeah, I guess if that answer is yes, have the engineer come up with a cost and what they think it would be for us to consider, and I guess they should also look at what we brought up as far as access. You know, how do you see the contractor doing this work? Is it doable? You know, don't design a project that nobody can build, I guess.
And there's no mention of the bridge in the original easement?
Nope.
But, and again, it's,
So
the property owner that's asking for the work to be done to the ditch is the one with the bridge.
Let me ask this question. If they go forward with this project and they take out the guy's bridge and they don't replace it, would we be named in a lawsuit or would it just be county? If this guy decides to file something?
I mean, if we're not, I mean, are we doing any work on it? Are we involved in it other than it's township?
It's coming out of our stormwater
Lake County
funds.
stormwater.
Which is county funding, but they allow us to
Ask
have
for
a,
projects, right?
have a checkbook by another account. Not a formal checkbook, but they track it.
So it's written by the county though.
So I mean, if I was putting myself in plaintiff's shoes, yeah, I'd probably sue both.
Okay. Name both
And
parties.
then if they want to argue why they shouldn't be a part of it,
Let them
go
name
ahead
it.
and argue. But if we're expending some funds for it, then
Oh, let me ask this idea. If we can get somebody to put a value on the bridge, whatever that might be, get rid of the bridge, compensate the homeowner that amount. If he can rebuild the bridge with that amount, good for him. If it's gonna cost more, he's gonna have to come up with more.
But
Then we're compensating him for the bridge as it is today.
he's not gonna legally be allowed to build it. That's.
But we don't know that.
We don't know.
We
Have
don't.
to call.
Well,
Tim.
Okay.
I mean, he would have a right to rebuild it as long as it didn't interfere with the easement rights. So some of that would be, I suppose, the commissioner's call as to whether or not that interferes, but the owner of the land has the right to use that land for any reason they see fit, as long as they're not interfering with the reasonable and proper use of the easement.
So they don't lose rights to their property.
There would be some kind of judgment call from the, hey, do the commissioners think this interferes? Do they not think? But ultimately, if there were to be litigation over that, a court would decide whether or not this is interfering with those easement rights or not. And if it's not, then he would have a right to
So
put it
that's-
in.
Would they take into account the fact that there was an easement before and there was no mention or issue with the bridge that was there previously?
I mean, if I'm the property owner, I'm definitely making sure the court's
Right.
aware of that.
Yeah, that's
See,
what I'm saying.
I like that idea a lot better as
Right, me
far
too.
as if we can compensate them for the existing structure. Because if the project were to build a new bridge, a longer bridge, or retrofit that bridge to a longer bridge, that property owner is gonna say, well, if anything ever happens to that,
Yeah, that's on us.
they're gonna come back onto us forever. I think it becomes ours. I mean,
So,
you guys did a project that modified this, and 10 years later, something happened, I want you guys to fix it.
versus just compensate. I like Bill's idea, like you said. Just figure out what it is, see if it's something we can include in the project, pay him off for that, the value of that bridge, and then he handles the rest on his own. And our hands are
But
washed.
it all comes down to finances too.
Yeah,
I mean, again,
exactly.
how many properties benefit from it? Is it really a stormwater area-wide project? And yeah,
Well, part of his argument is after the Menor Avenue widening project, when they ran additional water down Palmer Avenue into the Barton Ditch, it caused more water to come through his property, so.
Barton Ditch has been a problem for 50 years, for God's sakes.
And it has been, I know, but it is worse
Worse.
in his backyard since
Than it
they
was
did
before.
the improvement, yeah. And I know because
Improvement.
I've looked at every flood for 40 years.
Right.
I know,
Yeah.
it's worse.
You old. He really is.
Yeah.
I'm more worried
Yeah.
what we're gonna do when
Yeah.
he
If we-
shovels.
I know.
I just gotta say,
If we
Am
just
I
would
the
have
oldest
saved
guy
the
here?
ark, we would have been okay.
Next to Mike?
But I couldn't do it.
So, yeah, I guess check with Tim on, would the county be okay with the easement going back in? And do we want to even ask the engineer to come up with a cost to?
first ask the county.
Okay, if the county says yes, then what? Is what Josh is asking.
Yeah, then what? Then is it, do we come up with a number of,
I think we need to have like an engineer look at it, come up with a design that the landowner.
No, we're not talking about design. That's the whole point. We don't wanna get involved with the future project. We just wanna compensate him for what's there.
But the landowner wants to do it.
And we don't,
Yeah.
we're not even saying build one. We're saying, here's the cost to recoup you for us tearing out your bridge. What you do from here on out is between you and the county and yourself. We don't care. That's the point here.
yeah.
Just all that bridge is on our easement, so we could tear it down and throw it.
Yeah, it's not
No,
our
he
easement.
predated the easement, that's what he's saying.
It's in the county's easement, and you
Yeah.
think you can,
It's an easement.
If you forced me to pick a side, I would say we don't owe him any compensation because it's inconsistent with our easement rights. However, that's not to say, I'm not guaranteeing I'm right on that.
That's why you're still practicing law.
We're always practicing, we're always practicing.
The thing is, if nothing gets done over there, then he gets the flood.
But-
So he's
but-
the one that's got, he's getting helped with the flooding.
The- the-
I'm not
No,
saying
I
it's
agree.
his fault. He has a incentive to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing to consider is, even if we are ultimately right, that doesn't mean we're not gonna be involved in some litigation and take up a lot of
So
time
in this
and
letter you wrote to
resources
us, you said, if
prove that.
possible, seek to reach some kind of understanding with the property owner to try to avoid any potential litigation. Also, although it's my opinion that we would not have to do so, I don't think it would be a bad idea to see if the township and/or county is willing to provide financial assistance in replacing the footbridge. So the path of least resistance.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
It becomes a matter of negotiation. You don't know what the other person wants.
check with the county, see if they'd be okay with it going back in there.
I guess we'll be talking about this again in 2 weeks.
Yes.
But you got some legwork to do in 2 weeks, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there's some things you gotta
Yeah.
find out, okay?
Don't let it flood in that time period too, please.
April, that's a good month for that. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm done.
All right, thank you. Fire chief. Or not to say yelp fire.
Just some, okay, first of all, station improvements, I know when we did our budgets hearings end of last year, we were talking about doing some more repairs at the, or remodeling at both of the stations. And want to get some prices on the duty bathrooms, the bathrooms in the front, just to, because those things are really old. But my question is, I guess, does anyone know if we're getting any stimulus money?
We just talked about that.
Okay,
We still don't know if townships are gonna get
okay.
money.
But it's leaning no,
It's leaning no?
heavy no.
Okay.
I was
From
with
the
the-
cities, baby.
I was with a group of people last night, and that's what they were all indicating. It's a heavy no.
What
So,
group? A group in the know?
city folks, yeah, I think they know. These people I was with are pretty
They wrote
sharp.
They wrote it, yeah, you know.
Okay, I mean, either way, I would go ahead and get the estimates on what it's gonna cost and everything, but I probably thought maybe that would fall under that to get the bathrooms redone, but, anyways,
How much is it gonna cost to do that, chief?
I don't know that. That's why I said I gotta get prices still.
Okay, I mean, you've got a funding for anyhow within your budget, so
Right, yeah, I think we put 50,000 for station improvements between the two stations, so,
if worse comes to.
And this one's good now, right?
no, the front bathrooms are the ones
Oh,
we're
here.
talking about, yeah.
Oh.
So two and, one and two?
What's it?
One
Yeah,
and two?
1 and 2, yeah. Three's fine, doesn't need anything that I know of right now.
But if we can do the extra bathroom at 2
Well,
in the
that's,
sleeping quarters, I mean, that probably takes priority over the other bathroom
right.
renovations.
The
I
other
would
one's
think.
just a remodel, so that shouldn't take, we did get a price, it was 30,000 to get that bathroom put in the back.
Okay.
We did, right now, I'm just looking at getting the tile work and shower and all that stuff, it's gonna be way less than that. And we did get the donations for the mowing faucets and that kind of stuff, so, we'll be able to utilize those on those projects too. Well, that's the thing, yeah. They have other bathrooms, it's just they won't, for a shower, they'll have to go over to Station 3 and shower for that time being of when we actually redo that unless we do get a bathroom put in the back, that's all. There's only one shower station, that station 2. So,
Okay, but we're still gonna try to get an extra one,
yeah, I
either
mean,
in the old sleeping area.
right,
or-
and I
okay.
know that's, Gabe and I were gonna get together, he's looking at a project on the outside, so I don't think where that is, where that back part is, because that property line's pretty close there, but you could, if you're putting something in further, you may be able to utilize the plumbing, tap into the same sewer, that kind of thing.
Okay.
All right, so anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get those prices and move ahead with that, but I was curious about the stimulus, because I thought that would be a good cause to put toward that.
but.
Huh?
We wish, but.
Yeah. Well, maybe I can ask the city to give us some
Yeah,
or
there you
something,
go.
Yeah.
Maybe Fairport would give
Yeah,
us
we
some
Yeah,
money.
Fairport, I saw they got quite a bit.
Maybe we can ask them for some money.
Yeah. Anyways, we did our exam today for new hires, 14 people. A 3-hour exam, everybody got done with it in an hour and a half. I don't know if that's a good thing, 'cause they're really
Right, you always
smart.
question that, right?
But let's hope it's a good thing. So I don't know how it all gonna pan out, but like I said, we did have 14 people. How many people will actually move on, I'll let you know. We're still assisting with vaccination clinics. We're waiting for FEMA. There was a process now to get repaid for that. I knew it was coming, and there's a process for that we're sending in every week. We probably are not gonna have a vaccination clinic in Painesville Township. It looks like now they've moved everything to this megapods, they're calling them, where they did one at Menor, now that's going to Lakeland, and they're doing 6,000 shots a day at Lakeland, once a week. Well, actually, twice a week it will be, because there's one week where they do it, one day where they do a first shot, and then a second shot a different day, so. Anyway, so there's 5,000 to 6,000 every day at Lakeland, so they're asking for our help with that stuff, but as far as us having to do much in the township, other than supply a couple guys when they volunteer, that's it. Okay. AFG grants, we did, well, before the AFG, we did get a check for $10,000 for radios from the Marks, from the State Fire Marshal. That's the first time we've gotten that I know of. so I'm thinking they had a little extra this year or something, but we did get that one, and we'll be able to buy, sounds like a lot, but it buys 4 radios, so it's not huge, yeah. So we'll get our 4 radios. And then Safer Grant, it went in, we're still waiting, that'll be pending, probably hear about that in the fall. The other grants we have pending with the AFG are waiting in the fall too. The Larry Harpster, he's a sheriff's deputy, he's a sergeant on the SWAT team. Asked me about every week or so that I run into him, he wants to know if we're gonna put anybody back on the SWAT team. And I told him I would definitely approach you guys again, so, it's not on my agenda, we don't have to talk about it, but, you know, it just, I did tell him I would approach you about it, and I do have a guy that's interested, so,
Can you put together a summary of what
what it would
our
cost.
obligations
Sure.
are and costs for that, something like that would
I
be?
will do that, yes.
Can you also,
What else do we give, what else do we do that, I mean, are we meeting our requirements? What other communities are doing to the county, or?
that was
Yeah, I mean,
the other
SWAT
thing.
team-
What other communities are?
Every communities puts things, I think the only other one that has a member embedded on the SWAT team for the sheriff's department is Concord. I don't think anybody else has one. But other communities like Painesville City that has their own, I don't think, actually, I think City might be part of the same one. And they had a guy on for years, but now they don't. But Menor, I know, has their own, and they have a guy from Menor Fire Department on the SWAT team.
I guess
So-
I'm not just referring, Chief, to SWAT team. I mean, different communities do different things. Like, I know, like in East Lake, they had water rescue
Sure,
team,
I mean,
right?
Yeah.
So-
water, dive,
That was their community.
That was their community give to
Right,
everybody
right.
else. And maybe Fairport has that too now, I don't know.
Fairport has some water rescue and ice rescue things.
So I'm
yeah.
just looking from a bigger picture, like, what are we contributing to countywide
Well, right
that would
now,
make us right, and what
Gordon?
doesn't?
Gordon and the
The
dog.
command vehicle's a big one, I mean, because that gets called out quite a bit for both SWAT and police, and normally, I mean, we just take it out, set it up for the people, and they use it, but any big fire, anything like that, gets called for that. And Gordon with the arson dog, and then we do have members on the hit team, but every department does. And we have members on the investigation unit for fires, and again, every department does. So
We opted out of replacing because of cost, right?
we opted out because, yeah, it was, at the time, we were way over on overtime. We had just, you know, a guy just dropped off and said, well, we can save that overtime costs anyways, but, yeah, I can put together a projected what it does cost.
And then, like
roughly.
what Chuck said, if you can, you know, what other communities are,
Just to give us something to look
What about
at.
Sure.
sponsoring one of the guys that are sheriffs, you know, doing the road stuff or whatever?
Well, I think they donated a car to us is another reason why. And it wasn't the sheriff that asked this, I don't wanna, you know, but it was just one of his guys was like, hey,
Oh.
you got a car, so how about getting a guy on the SWAT team, so. I said,
Gordon's car.
Yeah.
Donated the
Oh,
old.
really?
Oh, yeah. So
Oh, one time, okay, yeah, that was very nice.
it was very
Think like
nice of
that.
them, yes, and
Yes.
but I don't think the sheriff was looking for that.
Correct. Okay,
So he's got a bigger ask.
Yeah.
okay.
All right, and that's all I have, thank you.
What I was saying is, what if we paid one of our part-time sheriff guys that do our road patrol and stuff like that? Don't these guys have to?
The
have-
guy that has doing our part-time sheriff, there's no way he could do the SWAT team.
Oh, no.
Well, and I think they want, probably what,
They want a
they want a
paramedic.
paramedic.
Yeah, actually,
Right.
it's a special paramedic too. We have to send him to a TEMS class, which is, they have to go to a class. Actually, it's a pretty rigorous class too, so not just all of our guys could do it either. So, you know,
Okay.
has to get in really good shape to be able to do it.
Make sure you do that too.
Do they pay for all
Kinda
that,
like
or
me.
do we pay for that?
No, we do. That's.
Yeah, we'd have to pay for that, for him to go to that.
For him, for the training costs and his overtime or time to
Yeah.
go.
Probably talking 25 grand a year.
No. I mean, yeah, I'll get it together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just get together. No
Yeah.
speculating. Let's-
Okay.
Yeah,
thanks.
all right, thank you. Bill?
So speaking of easements, we would like to. Okay. We're looking to put a sidewalk from Foxfire to Chickanetti Park. And in order to do that, we are not permitted to put it within the right-of-way of Bohall Road. So I've spoken to the homeowner there, and they would be willing to talk to us about giving us an easement to run that property, or run that sidewalk across the front of their property over to Chickanetti Park. We will do, we'll put the sidewalk in, our guys will do that, and I'm hoping that Jason and Jeremy can write the language for the easement. We would just need to get it surveyed.
Rather than an easement, can we get a work agreement? Is that
What do you mean by a work agreement?
where they would give us permission to do work on their property, to go on the, and build the sidewalk?
Well, I think you need the easement if you want people to be able to walk on the sidewalk.
And we don't want
You
to,
know,
10
if it was
years
just
from now,
putting it in there and that's it? Yeah.
and if they sell the house in 10 years and the new owner says, I don't want a sidewalk in my yard anymore,
Right.
we need to own it. We
From
need
what
to be
street?
responsible for it.
Foxfire. So the idea is to make it so that developments, they can come down Foxfire without going on the main road, which is part of what we discussed from the beginning of this. We just assumed we could go in the road right away, but because of where the telephone pole is,
Yeah.
especially, it obstructs.
And then the county doesn't want
Right.
sidewalk in the right of way, then they have liability on it, so.
Right.
So we're not talking about going east from the park, across the fire station and over,
No, we're going to go from Foxfire north.
okay,
To-
just that one?
Front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Just so the kids in the neighborhood don't have to ride around on to get to it,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
ride through people's front
Yeah.
yard. It gives them a sidewalk to access the
And
park.
the residents there were, they agreed, they're,
So
people
where
are gonna walk through their yard anyway, so
Right.
they'd rather have a sidewalk there.
So where's the sidewalk gonna go, Bill? In front of that fence or behind it? I mean, how far
It's
off of the
going to go
road?
in between the fence and the utility pole,
Yeah, so see, there's like a space there.
and then we will continue it down to
Oh, so
the,
between the fence and the
Yeah,
utility pole?
yeah.
That's way back.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Sure. And then we would just extend it all the way
we'll
down.
extend it
Right,
over
to-
to where there will be a.
to the park.
Where would
Break-
you, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Bill. Where would you start it on Foxfire?
So we're gonna start it right here, behind the. It's pretty much right in for the fence line, right? So it's gonna start right off there, come across.
It's not gonna go down Foxfire at all? it's
No,
just-
no, no, no,
okay.
no.
No,
It's just a matter so people on
On Foxfire? too.
Foxfire and across the street, that other development that has, you know.
Cedar Glens,
not
not
Cedar
Cedar
Glen,
Glen.
no,
Bannerstone.
Bannerstone, they could
Bannerstone
just
rather can
come
cut
straight across.
and then walk down the sidewalk to get to it.
They're gonna end up cutting across there anyway, so they might as well go into it.
Well, that's what the
Well, why
residents are
not-
saying. I'd rather have a sidewalk than people cutting through my
So-
grass over and over and over.
Why not just offer to run the sidewalk? I know you gotta go to the road both ways. They come across the road either way and come down the other way. But for the people who live down Foxfire, run it down to that guy's driveway, if he's good with that. And that way, otherwise, they're still gonna walk in his grass, because otherwise, you're gonna have, like in this picture, you've got a car right there. So you're gonna have kids walking in the street or on the grass with this car right there as they're turning in. So this way, you get them off the road completely. And you're just going another 50 feet around the corner.
The idea was to kind of put one of those
Curb ramps.
curb ramps so that people coming across, and then they could just feed into that.
Yeah, I get that. And so that's going to take care of them coming down Bohall and then across from Bannerstone. But the people back from this development, they're going to be walking on his grass or in the road.
He has a-
And right here, you've got cars coming through.
So from over on Bannerstone, they'll be in the road too.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was to keep them off Bull Hall. I grew up in that area. There's no risk being on that little side street. Bull Hall can get crazy, and we don't want to feed kids.
That hill there.
Yeah, we don't want to feed kids down that road.
So
So
next,
this way, we go straight out, we'll put like one of those aprons, so they can come across and come up on the,
I think it's all a great idea. I'm just saying it's an extra 50 feet. And then you're going to get them off this guy's property completely and out of the road completely.
No,
well,
you're gonna
putting
put
a-
him on his
you're
property.
putting a sidewalk, more sidewalk on his property.
Yeah, I understand that. As long as he's okay with it.
I don't know that they are, because that was one of the questions they asked was, is it going to go all the way around the corner, or is it just gonna go to Foxfire?
Okay, well, if they don't
So-
want it, then that's
yeah.
fine.
Okay.
All right, then that's just, it's a mute point. All
Okay, so
right.
we'll,
Move forward with that.
yep,
do
I'll
that?
get
Okay.
get it surveyed and get that information to Jeremy and Jason, and they can write the language up and.
Okay.
So, we'll move forward with that.
If I pay for it, can I call Patriarch Chicken Any Park?
Come up with we at 95,000. You matched it.
So-
you give us 96,000. We'll call it Patriarchal Park.
So is there, did we ever create a separate account to put the money in?
No, but he's tracking it. There's no separate
Okay.
account. They kept it in the fund, but he's tracking the expenses.
We can't create a separate account for it, but Karen keeps record
So,
of
'cause I
it.
saw there was a bill for fence posts or something.
Oh, yeah, we're good
Yes.
at that.
That
We- yeah.
comes out of,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. All right.
The Paradise Road storm sewer improvement is proceeding. We agreed that we were going to go with option one, so the Stormwater Department reached out to Hull and Associates to give them a price to produce the engineering details and bid documents, and they are awaiting approval from the commissioners for that amount. And once that's approved, they'll go forward, and I've asked Tim to just handle the bidding process through Stormwater. They can bid it, and they can recommend
Yep.
who's going to get the final award. So that's going to take some time, but it's in process now. Morley Library is going to continue with their Touch a Truck program this year. They canceled it last year, so on a Saturday in June from 11 to 12, they asked us to take a couple trucks up in the parking lot. City of Painesville takes some trucks, fire trucks, police cars. They let the kids crawl around there for an hour or so, and so we'll participate in that again in early June with a couple of trucks.
And I mean, that's totally up to you and your call if, COVID stuff flares up, if
Yeah.
you make the call if you want to do
Okay.
it or not,
Yes.
so.
Yes. And then the storage barn, we are just in the process of are working on having a second architect look at the plans that the contractor submitted. They have to be tweaked a little bit in order to get the building permit because of the size of the building, has to have an architect stamp. So we're having the second one look at that now before we can proceed.
For the park, on the work session agenda, it said easement and sign. Was there any sign discussion?
We've got the post. The sign's going to look just like the one over at Haddon Park. We'll use those same style posts. We'll put the rocks around it, get some bushes and planted in there. And that will go pretty close to the parking lot entrance off of Bohall.
Do we have a layout or anything? Like, if we're doing a sidewalk and putting a sign in, do we have like a layout or something, a sketch for the park that?
I mean, we've kind of deviated from the original concept of it, but pretty much we're gonna utilize the driveway that's already there. Then there's already, not a hard I don't know what you call that surface, you guys have it, but it's
Yeah.
like rocky. So for now, instead of paying to have a whole parking lot done, we're gonna utilize that. Pavilion will be off where there is already some flat concrete area to the left. There'll be the split rail fence across the front to prevent kids from running out into the road with some basic, whatever. Then up on the hill will be the playground equipment up there. And then we've already talked to one of the residents about eventually, when the time comes, privacy fencing across those 2 yards across the back. And then the back corner where we remove the trees, we're thinking just getting a bench or two, kind of setting them under the trees. If people want to go sit under the trees in the grass area or whatever for now, and then that's pretty much the gist of it right now. I can lay it out.
Yeah, maybe we could sketch something up.
Yeah,
Just,
well-
I mean, I'd like to see what,
Sure. What it
What's
looks
going
like.
on.
But yeah, it's just
Okay.
gonna be parking lot pavilion there, and then eventually we're working on with the CBG and other stuff to put the 2 bathrooms off the side of the fire department.
So is there the Angelo Cicconetti bocce courts?
Eventually, but
Okay,
we'll get there.
all right, good.
so yeah,
good.
I guess before the sign goes in, can we look at kind of a general layout? 'Cause, I mean, I don't wanna move forward with something and then say, well, we should've done this or that.
Yeah, it's, I
Seen
mean,
the whole picture,
it's pretty
so.
basic as far as the front goes. Like I say, there'll be some split rail fence across to stop, if a ball or something runs out, at least a kid can't just book right out into the road. And then we talked about if we're gonna just leave it grass or put mulch in front of the fence with some
Yeah, there'll be,
something, and then that sign will be right next to the driveway opening,
Playground?
and the playground will be up top.
I guess,
Figured it'd be best to put the playground away from the street as much as possible.
I would, if we could see an overall, just
Yeah,
even a
put
rough
something-
sketch
yeah.
before anything goes in the ground, just,
okay,
I feel more comfortable.
okay.
Cool. Thank you. Zoning. Harley, do you wanna? Or Rich, go ahead.
Okay, guys, I just wanted to talk a little bit about two developments. Tanner's Farm over on Madison Avenue. That development was started in the 2000s, and it was partially developed with 15 out of, let's see, maybe 37 units being completed. Chad Pengel, who was the original builder in partnership with Hallmark Excavating, was having a hard time, I think, deciding how to finish off the development with the type of units and so forth. Never got done. Chad kind of gave up on the project. Todd Harrison recently made connections with George Davis of Pro Built Homes, who developed Nautica over in Lake Erie Shores. And George believes he can come pretty close to living with all the pre-approved regulations in that development. He may need a couple accommodations similar to accommodations which were previously applied for and granted by our township trustees, but on different units. So he's got his survey engineer preparing a proposed plan to finish off that development. We'll see what it looks like. If all the proposed deviations from what was approved are minor, according to our FPUD regulations, I can go ahead and approve those. If I sense that there's anything in a way of being major, then I would kick that back through the rezoning process. But from what I understand at the moment, I'm not anticipating anything in the way of major there.
So have you already seen plans, Rich? I
Pardon?
didn't catch that part. Did you already see plans on what he's doing, or you're waiting?
Well,
on this?
I haven't seen plans that were prepared at George Davis's order. I saw a plan that was submitted by Ron Klein, which may be very similar to what George Davis is going to send me. But I don't know what George is sending until I see it with my own eyes.
Is Ron Klein working in tandem with George Davis on this one?
To the best of my knowledge, only from the standpoint that he is willing to sell the property to George Davis.
I was told today.
When I spoke to George, he referred to himself as a purchaser under contract to buy the land and to carry on the completion of the development.
All right, hang on a second. Mike, what'd you hear today?
I was told today that Ron has moved out of state and his only interest there is to sell the property.
Good, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so, well, we already moved on, onto the Brooks. So, the Brooks is a little bit more complicated. In my conversations with George Davis about the Brooks, he understands our reluctance to see potential dedicated roads connecting to private roads, and does not, verbally, he expressed to me, he does not consider that to be a problem. I expressed to him our concern about the existing flooding issues near the current end of Spring Run Boulevard, in the developed portion, kind of like in the southwestern part of the development.
Hey, Rich, can I interrupt for a second? So
Sure.
when you told him we didn't like private roads connecting to the public roads, he said it wasn't a problem. So he didn't think that them connecting together was a problem, or he didn't see our objection to that as a problem?
He didn't see our objection as a problem.
Okay, so he was working on that. Okay.
He thought, as opposed to what Ron Klein had originally talked about, finishing the development off with dedicated roads, which would have connected to the private roads. George Davis does not believe that it's necessary to have public roads inside that development. He believes the fee simple lot concept with private roadways is perfectly okay with him. He understands our concerns about flooding issues along McKinley Creek, particularly at the part of the existing development at the end of Spring Run Boulevard as it exists today. There is, I've been in contact with the sanitary engineer as well as George having been in contact. What I'm hearing from the sanitary engineer is there is a possibility that they are going to allow the temporary lift station, pumping station, which services the already developed portion of the Brooks, to remain in place, and probably the rest of the development, the new development or the finishing of that development, can be handled by placing gravity sewers draining out to Bacon Road and going north toward Lake Road on Bacon. So it sounds to me like the sanitary engineer has a plan which is going to handle the sewage. It'll be up to George Davis to come up with the plan to ensure that flooding issues which exist today are going to disappear if he continues the development. I haven't seen a plan. I know he's got a survey engineer working on a development plan to get to us, but we haven't seen it yet.
Rich,
Yes.
so I guess it's official that George bought this property, George Davis bought this property from ProBuilt?
He told me he was a buyer under contract.
So, and the reason I asked that is because the sign on Bacon Road says sold. So maybe that's just something they do ahead of time, but okay. So he's under contract. All right.
Yeah, I mean, that all fits together. The property signage being stating that the property is sold fits into George telling me he is a purchaser under contract as of the current time. Okay?
Okay. So that's
Okay.
good news. So
Uh,
from
I know it's hard for you to believe because this is it's such great news.
it is great news. It is
I
great
know,
news.
I know.
Yeah, I mean he's a very reputable builder, and I've worked with him in the past with issues, and he's always been very professional and easy to work with. So, from my standpoint, this is about as good of news as we could possibly get.
Well,
So my last
you know,
remaining thing though,
let's
Rich, my last remaining
face it.
point, Rich, hang on. The last remaining
Okay.
point though is to drive home that McKinley Creek issue at the flooding there. Just make sure that gets driven home.
Yeah, you know, when I mentioned that to George, he said, you know, that can't continue to be a problem. He said it seems to him that that is a very easy problem to remedy once they go through and finish off the development. So the
It'd be
proof is
great if
going to
they
be,
could, if they could remedy it now, if it's that easy, to give some relief.
And when he builds
To the
his
residents.
development, he will.
well,
right.
guys, you know what? We might be dealing with personality issues and, you know, owners' motives. The past owner of that property may have not been as well equipped to deal with that particular issue until he knew what he was going to do with the rest of the property. I believe that George has studied the situation, has been made aware of the problems, and already has a plan in place on how to remedy. Where he is more motivated than the previous owner may have been. And that's all I can really say. I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but that's what I gather from my conversations with the previous owner, with the buyer under contract, and let's face it, water drainage is only a problem when you're trying to move water from downhill to uphill. So if it's a matter of doing a little bit of digging and taking some machines and recontouring some land, there shouldn't be a problem as long as there is a way to create a gravitational downward flow for water to escape an area. And I think that's what George was talking about when he said he didn't think that was going to be a big issue on that particular piece of problem or property.
Okay. You any other questions, Chuck?
I'm good.
Okay.
That's the best news I've had.
All right. Harley.
Okay.
Microphone? Sure can. Or take mine. Never mind, take Mike's.
Okay, so, Mr. Reinhardt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what I am bringing to the trustees' attention is a situation that Mr. Reinhardt brought to my attention. His neighbor on the corner of Lee and Arbor, and let me bring up that location on a map
Which corner?
for you. On the eastern corner?
Northeast?
Yes, northeast.
Okay.
It would be 196 Lee is the property address.
Southeast? Southeast.
What's the address?
I believe it's technically both, isn't it?
196.
196 Lee. So the issue taking place at the property is that there is a gentleman who resides there, presumably resides there, that was firing a gun, doing practice shooting at the property, and doing so in a worrying manner. Mr. Reinhardt had called the sheriff's department out. The sheriff's department informed Mr. Reinhardt that what the resident was doing at 196 Lee was perfectly legal and that there was nothing that the sheriff could do to intervene. Mr. Reinhardt then pointed out to the sheriff deputy that in Painesville Township zoning, we have a prohibition against firing guns within township limits. The deputy or sergeant, I believe, informed Mr. Reinhardt that they had no way of enforcing that. And after speaking to legal, there are issues with the enforceability of that resolution.
Long ago.
A long time ago. Thank you. Apologize here, let me now present.
It predated all of us.
Well, and this came up probably 2 years ago when
Okay.
people on the street next to me, there was some discharging of firearms, and I think that's, at that time, Matt Lalo was our legal advisor, and we had the discussion then about discharge of firearms.
And I actually reached out to him to ask if he had any recollection of why that was left, and he stated that it was kind of a decision to leave it there, that if somebody saw it, maybe it would deter, but that in reality, it had no teeth based on the Ohio Revised Code. So I guess.
Yeah,
Oops.
I mean,
We'll let legal kinda-
unequivocally, we could not enforce that provision.
Right. Well, right, and that's what our discussion was back then, he said, and it was just one of those things, well, leave it alone, maybe somebody reads it, it'll deter them, but it has no legal standing. So I don't know why that, you were here, we weren't, but why that was passed, but.
Honestly, I don't even recall that.
Yeah.
Because I know that the fiscal officer is actually in charge of hunting permits. and
But
stuff like that.
didn't it have to be target shooting? There had to be,
So, we dove deep, Jason and I, we spent a lot of time on this. This situation in particular was very alarming, just because the person shooting took absolutely no precautions to ensure that there was an appropriate backstop. So this is the corner here, I don't know if my cursor is showing up, okay. So this is the corner here where the collection of items were that he was shooting at. This is the roadway. These are the items that he was shooting at, and according to the sheriff's department, that was perfectly legal, which, yeah, according to ORC, and Jason can speak much better to the legalities of all of this, but ORC does have some stipulations regarding at least bullets not flying over roadways and things of that nature, but I assume it's the burden of proof that a bullet flew over the roadway is really on the sheriff, and so they have to watch it happen. I assume, I don't know. So this is that situation. Lee being where it is with this bow in the road, it's really attractive for, bike riding and things like that.
Can you zoom back in there on that tree?
Yes,
What was
sir,
going
I
on, so you have a
can.
better feel?
Yes, sir, I can. So I can't attest to, Mr. Reinhardt can specifically attest to the location that the gentleman was firing the weapon from. All I know is that his target practice items that were destroyed by his activity were located here. Bricks and cans specifically is what I observed.
so, would you go up there? Do you know where they were shooting from?
Yes, they were shooting from their deck. If you don't
Here?
mind.
Yeah, go ahead and point up there, or if you have something you want to pass out, whatever. Do you need,
She has the same picture that I
Okay,
did.
all right.
I got the Painesville Township thing and everything. His deck is right here, and he shoots,
Is that a fence all around?
yeah, it's like a 3-foot fence.
Okay.
So his deck's right here, and he's shooting right here, and printed out the pictures if you guys would like to look at them. It's filled with bricks, cans. Our soil there is sandy.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so, I mean, so this is a little bit different situation than
No, but it's
what was
nuts.
brought to
Here's the
us.
bricks and cans.
2
They're
years
blown
ago.
apart. I mean, they're blown up
Yeah,
by the
but-
guns.
I mean,
There's a picture of his deck that he's
crazy as it
shooting
is,
from.
it's not.
Um, And I did see for the state that it says it is legal in all townships, but with proper backsplash. I have that.
Right.
printed out for
Yeah,
you.
they gotta have it.
And the sheriff advised me that it was perfectly legal. And as I was talking to the sheriff, the gentleman continued to shoot his gun with the sheriff standing there.
Yeah, and again, Jason can speak much more eloquently
So
on
it's a hard
this,
situation.
this
There's a lot
portion of
stored
it,
in
but
the neighborhood.
Well, it's,
And that's always the concern, and, again, 2 years ago, when it was by my house, it was probably a 3-acre piece of property that ran back, and so that was a different situation than
Yeah,
this.
these lots are only a half an acre big, so.
Oh, absolutely, and
and even at that, that doesn't concern me as much as the fact that where the way you're describing it was happening, right? Like with proper backstopping and things behind it, that's one thing. But to be sitting on your deck and just shooting off down at the corner that opens out into the street doesn't seem to me that has the proper backstopping that even the ORC would allow. You know.
so, ORC does not require backstopping.
Oh.
They have suggested, a suggested way to do it, and Jason, if you could please elaborate on that, I
Yeah,
know you
so the,
understand that better than I do.
The ORC gives the chief of the Division of Wildlife the authority to promulgate guidelines for both private and public shooting ranges. And those are contained in the Ohio Administrative Code. However, they are just that. They're guidelines. So I've seen the other resources where they say, you know, it has to have a proper backstop. You have to have, you know, you can only shoot, you know, you have to have a clear line of sight to your target. You know, it can't have any hard materials there to avoid ricochets. But those are all things that are just coming from those guidelines. And the way those work, so if you follow those guidelines, and there's safety guidelines and there's noise guidelines, if you follow those, you essentially have immunity from any noise, criminal or civil. You have immunity from criminal prosecutions, and you have immunity from nuisance actions
Criminal prosecutions in what regard?
for noise.
Uh,
You know, if you end up shooting somebody, no, you're not
I
going
was
to
just
you're not
saying.
gonna have
okay.
immunity.
Right. Okay.
So, like I said, if you follow those guidelines, you're granted those immunities. If you don't follow those guidelines, you're not granted those immunities. So, as Harley said, I mean, we took a very deep dive into this. I've spent the better part of probably the last 2 days looking into this. I actually drove by the property before the meeting today, and I agree. It's very alarming what's going on there, but there's not a ton that the township can do. So, you know, obviously there are some criminal statutes regarding where and when you can discharge firearms. One of them, as Harley said, you can't discharge a firearm on or over a public road. I mean, if that's going on, that's a criminal violation. But all those criminal violations, that's the sheriff. You know, we can't make the sheriff. You know, we can talk to the sheriff. We can, you know, but you know, they're the ones who would have to issue citations for that.
196.
You know, we do have the township. We do have a noise ordinance. That is enforced by the sheriff, though. We can't enforce that ourselves. And my guess, so that the guidelines are an unacceptable amount of noise is 90 decibels
No,
within
it's a
any
gentleman.
1 hour out of 24, or 85 over 8 hours in any 24. And I can almost guarantee that he is violating those noise levels. I mean, a 22 can generate as much as 140 decibels, you know, from the shooter's perspective. You know, however, someone would have to be out there while he's shooting with
Decibel meter.
whatever you call the device that measures decibels, because you have to measure it from the edge of the property.
Decimeter.
You know, and it'd have to be for those at least 1 hour or the 8 hours and 24. So that presents some practical difficulties
So you're saying it would have to be a collective hours worth of noise being
within
produced?
any 24-hour
Not
period.
just boom, boom, boom in an hour.
You're saying an hour of collective no.
Right, it has to be 90 decibels or higher for an hour in any 24.
There,
Nobody
there
should.
Mr. Chairman,
is
Mr.
another
Chairman.
potential.
Mr. Chairman, I am sorry to interrupt, but could we stop this meeting and start the public meeting and continue the discussion? But we have
Yes,
to.
thank you. Yes, we'll go ahead and end the work session at 7:30, and then we will get started with the regular meeting momentarily.
It's gonna have to get under what new business when you do that part.
Yeah, so
Yeah, when we get to
we'll
new business,